Greetings and welcome to the Fan Perspective. I'm your host Nathan Lyle, and this is my recap of the 2015 WNBA Finals and a couple of things to take notice of before I begin. First of all, I'm a little sick right now. I took a cough drop before we started, but it doesn't seem to be working all that well, so just keep that in mind. I might start hacking a few times in this video. Second of all, it's early in the morning. My brain doesn't seem to want to work right now, so I'm going to be taking a few stops to look at my notes from time to time, and so the video is not going to flow all that smoothly, but I'm still going to try to keep it like under 5 minutes if possible, and those 5 minutes officially start now. Game 1 in Minnesota, and already we've got some record breakers in the first quarter. Sylvia Fowles had 8 rebounds, breaking the finals record for most rebounds in a quarter. You've got the lowest scoring quarter in finals history, as the teams ended the opening quarter tied up at 10, and it was a back and forth affair through much of this game. You had Moore and Fowles had big performances carrying the Lynx, but they also had more turnovers than the entire Fever team. I mean, turnovers were a big issue for them, and at the end of the game, the Fever were able to take advantage of those opportunities, and they ended up coming away with a very close wins, and for the first time since 2012, when they lost to the Fever in Game 1 of the finals, the Minnesota Lynx lose a home game in the playoffs, as the Fever take Game 1 and a series lead, and it's kind of starting to look like deja vu all over again. And then in Game 2, it was a pretty back and forth affair through much of it. You had, but in the second half, you see the Lynx taking advantage. They go on a run, and they end up taking the lead and never really look back. And you had Maya Moore, who was just very impressive. She was second on the team in points and rebounds, tied to lead the team in assists. She led the game in blocks and steals. The most impressive thing, she played 39 minutes, basically the entire game, did not have a single foul. The Lynx end up winning Game 2, the evening up the series, and now we move back to Indiana, where both teams got good contributions. Fever had 4 players in double figures. Lynx had 5 players in double figures. Even though Whalen wasn't playing that well, the guards off the bench, Cruz and Montgomery, they both played incredibly well. You had double-doubles from Fowles, and you had Moore carrying the way with 24 points, including the buzzer beater heard around the world. They were tied at 77 at the end of the fourth quarter with less than 2 seconds to go. Maya gets the inbound, one dribble, puts up a 3, boom, they win. Lynx take a 2-1 lead on the series, and then we go down to a decisive Game 4, where the Fever, their backs are against the wall, and so far in the postseason up to this point, they're 4-0 in elimination games. And so we come out in Game 5, and with their backs against the wall, the Fever put on their best performance. The Lynx, they had trouble putting points on the boards. The Fever had a big lead heading into the fourth. They were up by 12, and the Lynx cut the deficit a few times, but the Fever never gave up that lead. And you had Coleman and Johnson with 14 points apiece to lead the team. The Fever with a stave time for elimination, and for the first time since 2009, the finals are going to Game 5. Fever 5-0 in this current postseason with their backs against the wall, when they're 1 game away from being eliminated. And then we go to Game 5, which it was very exciting. Back to Minnesota for the last game of the WNBA season. This is the last time these players will play on the WNBA floor in 2015, and it was exciting. Fever struggled putting points on the board. You had a double-double from Tamika Catchings, who led the Fever in points, rebounds, blocks, doing everything she can to help carry this team, will them to victory. And while it was a very back-and-forth affair and it stayed close throughout the first quarter, you saw the Lynx really start to break away very early. It was towards the end of the first half, you saw them grab a lead, and extended a little bit. And then you saw them make it a double-digit lead in the third, and in the fourth, early in the fourth, they were leading by as many as 20. The Fever tried to stage a comeback, but they just couldn't overcome it. It was too much of a deficit, and they started making points just a little too late, and they couldn't get enough stops. So in the end, the Minnesota Lynx end up winning their third title in 5 years. Sylvia Fowles ends up being named the Finals MVP. And I completely fumbled through this entire video. But don't worry, because this is the last video of the 2015 season, and starting next year, I'm starting with the off-season recap rather, because it'll be like off-season recap, preseason power rankings, and then the WNBA Weekly starts again once the season has begun. And all of those videos, at least right now, I'm planning on editing everything. I'm gonna get a new laptop, some new software, and all of these videos will be edited, so you won't have to see me fucking up like this on a regular basis. Okay? Thank you for sticking with me the entire season. I hope you enjoyed it. I sincerely enjoyed watching all of these games. Cannot wait for next year. It's gonna be very exciting. Congratulations to the Lynx, third title. Sylvia Fowles with her first title and getting the MVP votes. It was a really fun series to watch. The games I got to see, because I did have to walk a few times, but it was exciting.